Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Young here, and today I'm back in our Fortnite video. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys the biggest advantage when it comes to linear settings. And I haven't seen too many people talk about this, and this is such an advantage. So if you guys are currently using linear, or if you play on Legacy and maybe thinking to switch to linear, this is definitely the video to watch, because I'm going to show you guys a huge advantage with the linear settings as opposed to the other settings that you can choose from on controller. And before we get into the video, real quick, up on the screen I have the V-Buck giveaway winner of this week. And so I'm going to be giving out more V-Bucks next week, and I might be giving away a season pass for the next season. So if you guys want a chance to enter that giveaway, all you guys have to do is to drop a like on this video. Make sure you guys do subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys also do turn on post notifications, and lastly, leave a comment down below of either your Xbox gamer tag, your PSN gamer tag, or Epic account, and you guys will be automatically entered into the next giveaway. And alright guys, let's go right to the video. Alright, so here in this video, I'm going to show you guys the biggest advantage when it comes to the linear settings in Fortnite. And I think it's really important that you know all the advantages, whether you're using Legacy, linear, exponential, whatever the case may be. Just because, and you guys have seen it all the time with PC players, these keybot and mouse warriors getting upset when people on controller, they use the L2 spam on Legacy. It's because controller players figured out how to be very good with it. They understand the advantages of it, and they used it to their best advantage. And so same thing here, I'm going to be showing you guys one of the biggest and best things with the linear settings that if you guys don't really know about, you can't use it as much to your advantage. And this is extremely OP when it comes to the other settings of Legacy, which I'll fully demonstrate in this video. So the absolute number one thing that is much better than Legacy settings is going to be the movement and the way you can move on linear. And this honestly just has everything to do with the way the input curve is when it comes to the movement on linear versus Legacy. On Legacy, which I'm demonstrating by running around corners, I'll also show you guys one of the biggest takeaways. So as you see, when I'm running around the corners, when I try to make sharper turns on Legacy, I will have a much more difficult time. My player is going to stop running. And as you can see, when I'm running around sometimes, my character stops sprinting and he slows down. Now, that's really important for a lot of reasons, and of course, you will have the same if you do like a full 360 on linear, you will have that as well, but it's less noticeable, and it's not as a hindrance on linear as it is on Legacy, and I'm going to show you guys another big reason for that. And this big movement difference isn't just when you're running around corners like I'm demonstrating. It also has to do a ton when you're box fighting, a ton when you're building, a ton when you're I guess in a build fight with another player, and they place a unexpected floor, an unexpected cone, and it kind of blocks you off, and you have to maneuver around it. It makes all the difference in the world, which I'll show you all the examples here. So when I'm going back to linear, and it's also a lot easier to tunnel on linear as well, because when you're I guess when you're running and say you want to build, it's much easier to build when you're going from a diagonal than to run straight. Because if you're running straight, like for instance, if you're in a box and you're tunneling straight, it's the fastest point from the back wall to the front wall is going to be running straight. But if you're not the best player when it comes to building and also tunneling, you're going to have a much more difficult time consistently building and consistently editing. So the easiest way to do that is to slow it down. And of course, when you're slowing it down, you don't want to completely stop, because say you're in an actual game going against another player, you want to be able to slow it down, but you want to completely stop. And so when you're on Legacy or you're on linear settings, you can kind of zigzag and you can kind of run diagonal in your box, meaning it's going to buy you just a little bit more time, but not to the point where it's going to slow you down or be a big hindrance. And here I'm also running around in my box, and as you can see, there's just way more opportunity for movement. I'm able to maneuver around my box much more quickly, and the reason for that is because on linear, like I demonstrated at the very beginning, when I'm on linear settings and I'm running around, I can run in zigzags, and I'm going to be sprinting the entire time. It's not going to make me stop. It's not going to make me slow down, which I will demonstrate why that's such hindrance in this game, because you always want to be moving at all times. If you want to be very quick, whether you're building, whether you're editing, you don't want to do anything where you have to stand still and you have to I guess slow down in a way. And here I'm building on Legacy, and I try to do the exact same movement and you can see it's a lot more choppy, it's a lot more difficult, and it slows me down much more than on linear settings. And granted, I'm not the best, and going back from linear to legacy is a little more difficult, but you guys can see it's a little bit more choppy, it's a little bit more difficult as far as the entire movement. But here, let me demonstrate why it's important, and why you're on linear, when you're constantly running, you're much quicker, because in this game, when you're standing still and you want to sprint, there's like a little bit of a pause before you reach your full speed. So here I am standing still, and once I go to run, it takes, I don't know, maybe like a second, maybe half a second, I don't know, I can't really count, but it takes just a small amount of time in order for you to get the full speed that you're running. So every time that you stop in this game, whether you're maybe turning around, maybe you're looking to a different direction, it's going to slow you down. So every single time that you're build fighting, every single time you're tunneling, every single time you want to, I guess, be faster than the other player, you have to constantly be sprinting. Otherwise, every single time that you stop, it's going to slow you down just enough. And if you're going against a really good player that is constantly sprinting, you're going to get outpaced every single time. You're going to be losing a lot of build fights. You're going to be losing a lot of gunfights because they're going to have high ground on you every single time. So that's just another really important demonstration on exactly why you always want to be sprinting at all times. And by playing on the linear settings, you're going to have a much easier time to do so, because your range of motion is going to be a lot smoother, and it's also going to be more when it comes to sprinting, as opposed to legacy. It's a little bit more choppy, and just because that's all dependent on the input curve that the legacy gives you. It's a little bit more difficult to do so. And here's another thing, say I'm under a cone. When I'm on linear settings, I'm able to basically kind of zigzag and run around the cone without having to stop much at all. But when I'm playing on legacy settings, as you would see, it's going to be a little bit more choppy. It's going to slow me down when I'm jumping from the side. Now, it's not like a make or break. If you play on legacy, you have to switch to linear, but just understand this is an advantage, and this can be a very big one. And it's one of the things that I noticed right away, because a lot of people, when they talk about the differences, they talk about aim assist, which also is extremely important as well. But I haven't seen too many, or I really haven't seen anybody talk about the movement advantage that you have on linear as opposed to legacy settings. It literally makes all the difference when it comes to any sort of building, editing, box fights, because it's a lot more fluid. You're going to be constantly sprinting, meaning that you're going to be a lot faster than the other player at all times, which is such an advantage over the rest of the people who play this game. So that's just one of the biggest reasons in which to play on linear settings, and it's another big advantage. And when it comes to any advantage that you have, if you have an advantage but you really don't know about it, you don't understand exactly how it works, you're not going to be able to use it to your full advantage, because knowing now that you have the input, or you have the better movement, and you constantly want to be sprinting, because the second you stop sprinting, once you understand that mechanic, that it takes like a second to reach your full speed, you constantly in build fights, you constantly in fights always want to be moving at all times, so you can be as fast as humanly possible when it comes to going against the other players. And that's going to be really important, especially when you're playing against high-level players or players who are even better than you. If you're constantly moving, you're going to be a lot faster, you're going to get high ground a lot more, which is going to in turn win you a lot more gunfights. Even if you are not as good as the other player, just being able to be a lot quicker from movement can make all the difference. And you will notice as well when you're building, as you can see here, I'm constantly twisting, I'm constantly turning, and I'm still at all times I'm able to continuously sprint without having to stop whatsoever. Of course, if I mess up my build, then it's going to make me stop. But when I'm twisting, when I'm turning, I have a lot more range of movement. Of course, you don't have unlimited range, or if you turn too fast on linear, if you turn all the way around, of course, it's going to make you stop. But you do have a lot more I guess availability. You have a lot more range of motion when it comes to linear as opposed to legacy settings. So that's the biggest advantage. That's definitely the biggest takeaway of this video. Just understanding and I think I did a couple polls that I think most of you guys do play on linear settings. There's still quite a bit of you that play on legacy, but for those of you guys who play on linear, or maybe you're looking to switch, this is definitely an important thing to keep in mind, and also an important thing to consider if you do plan to switch to those settings, because this really is a make or break. The aim assist, of course, isn't as good. It's a little bit better for close range, but the L2 spam from long range is extremely good for a lot of reasons, as you guys already know. It pisses every PC player off. That's how you know it's very good. So if you do play on legacy, or if you do play on linear, or maybe you want to switch to linear, this is an advantage to keep in mind and to really abuse and which is not really like the biggest of use, but just understanding it and using it to your advantage is going to make a huge difference on your game. And with that being said, that's wrap up for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys liked it, make sure you guys do drop a like, make sure you guys do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on my post notifications so you guys are notified for every single new video. And alright guys, I'll see you next video.